Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Inventing Construction. I'm Ross Griffin, and today we have a very lovely guest, Tiffany. Myself and Tiffany met about a month ago now, I think. We did a podcast on your own called The Gaff.
In my gaff.
In your gaff, exactly. But before we introduce Tiffany, let me talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today with Tiffany. And this is something that's close to my own heart, which is marketing and sales, especially in the construction industry. So we're going to talk a little bit about why great AEC firms struggle to win work. Our subtopics are why technical expertise is not enough to generate work. I think that's going to be a good one. What are the biggest marketing mistakes in the AEC?
Don't get me started.
I'm really excited to hear that one,
Dangerous.
Tiffany. How to win the right work without being the cheapest. Ooh, that's one that I love that. That's close to me. I don't like being the cheapest. Why marketing and recruitment are now connected. And last but not least, what can AEC firms do tomorrow to improve? But before we go any further, Tiffany, can you please introduce yourself? Give us a little bit of history.
My favourite thing, talking about myself.
Hey.
Okay, so let's go all the way back, right? My provenance, my bona fides. Why am I here today? I have an undergraduate degree in marketing from DCU. Came out in 1992, no jobs. Spent my entire career doing sales, face-to-face sales, burning diesel, wearing out shoe leather, building rapport with people face-to-face, interpersonal relationships, they used to call it on the CVs back in the day. So did that, ended up owning my own business. It was a commercial furniture company. We supplied furniture to contractors, specifiers, architects, designers, and I did that for 12 years. And then the shit hit the fan in 2009, 2010. And we all have PTSD from that, so we don't need to go back there. But I got a job in a large multinational corporation that was supplying security products to the aforementioned specifiers and contractors. So it was kind of a continuation of what I had been doing before, except not quite as sexy, So I wasn't going over to Milan to the furniture show and things like that.
Yeah.
But having said that, I was still knocking around the interior fit out and retrofit world. And that was a fantastic job. It was kind of like a safe crawl space for me during the recession, huge. It was kind of like the civil service, huge multinational. Yeah. And then one day I was sitting on the sofa with my brother and he said, we're going back to do digital marketing masters. And I was like, are we? And he was like, yep, get out your laptop there. And the two of us signed up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for digital marketing masters. And in the course of doing that master's, I learned how to take the rapport building and interpersonal relationship building techniques I had gained in real life and take it digital, take it to the internet. I learned that skill.
Lovely.
And I posted up something on LinkedIn about the fact that I was doing this master's, and Paul McKenna from Mac Interiors at the time reached out to me. He had been my client when I had my furniture business, and we had a coffee, and then I went in and I became the marketing and communication director in Mac for 7 years. And then I have to say, right, that 7 years was like an apprenticeship for what I'm doing now. Yeah. I sat at tables with senior leaders in the architecture, engineering, construction and property investment space. I learned how jobs are won and I learned how jobs are done at the coalface, at the front line. And it was fantastic and I loved it and I met so many amazing people. I grew my network. And I learned so many skills, and I had a team, and it was, we built a brand in Mac. Everybody that I meet says it to me. We grew a brand, and we grew it very quickly. And then the shit hit the fan again in May 2020. So I was made redundant in May 2020, and I was like, what am I going to do? I said, I'll apply for some marketing director jobs in, maybe some software companies who sell software to the construction industry. But sure, nobody was hiring during COVID. No. Nobody was hiring marketing. They should have been, but they weren't.
No.
Everybody was terrified. A
lot of the business support functions were dropped away because
Yeah.
they were just a support and they weren't the front line.
Yeah, so anybody in Mac who was actually building jobs stayed, but anybody like us, we couldn't. There was no value beside our names on the spreadsheet. So, like, I don't hold any grudge about that happening. By the way, in fact, I think it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. So, that was 2020. Applied for a few jobs. Applied for a good few jobs. Didn't get anything, and then wrote a blog, made a website, cobbled it together with baler twine
Lovely.
and safety pins,
Yeah.
and wrote a blog, put it on my LinkedIn. And within, I would guess, within about 4 to 6 weeks, I suddenly had 2 retainer clients that were, financially I was fine.
Yeah.
Financially, I was like, okay, I'm back where I was before.
Yeah, lovely.
So, and that is what happened. The rest is history. I said, writing blogs, all the things that I learned in my digital marketing masters.
Applying them
In real life to my own business.
Yeah.
And actually seeing the benefits and the outcomes and seeing it grow and, like a plant. Just nurturing it and watering it and minding it and seeing it grow.
I have a question for you then in relation to the masters. If you did the masters directly after your degree in the 90s, do you think would you have learned the same kind of level of information? Would you have been able to apply it the same? Or was there a great value doing it 15, 20 years later, whatever?
And I feel like the answer is inherent in the question. And I say this to my daughter all the time because she wants to do an undergraduate degree and then go straight in and do a master's. Yeah. And I'm always saying to her, look, the master's, you'll get more benefit out of a master's when you've worked in the real world for several years. There was no way I was going back to do a master's after DCU. DCU was hard. It was a tough degree. It was tough to get into it and it was tough to graduate from it. So there was absolutely no way. When I say I skipped out of the gates of DCU with my piece of paper, there was no way I was going back into education for a long, long time. But when I did go back, I was sitting there in the lectures. And it was this is a really interesting question you've asked, because there was a lot of marketing people sitting in the lectures. And these marketing people, digital marketing people, they're people who never really get out from behind a computer. Okay, so they're creating content, they're building plans, they're implementing strategies, but they've never actually gone out there and created face-to-face relationships. They've never done sales.
Yeah.
And the way I see it now, and it's in most construction companies, in the AEC industry, marketing reports into BD, marketing reports into sales, but actually it should be the other way around. Marketing is the strategy. Yeah. Marketing is the who are we talking to? What are we saying to them? And how are we going to get that message to the audience? That's what marketing does. And sales then is one of the conduits. It is one of the channels. So really the marketing has to come first. But unfortunately, in our industry, and I don't know whether it's true for other industries as well, but unfortunately, and because I did sales all my life, I get it.
Yeah.
But really the marketing is the strategic piece. It's the thinking.
Well, see, sales is tangible. You can put a number, a KPI and a metric against it and go, how many people did you speak to? How many conversion rate? What's your conversion rate? What's the value of those conversion rates? And
how many games of golf did you play?
Yeah.
How many pints did you drink in-house?
It basically becomes that metric you can measure, whereas the marketing piece is a little bit more difficult, and perhaps it's a little easier now with technology and you're counting clicks and likes and downloads and all of that kind of stuff. The intangibles are still the same though, It's still something that's very difficult to measure the conversion rate between the messaging you're putting out there and the clients you're winning. And we, even in Cosmos, we have this debate the whole time. And I've been doing this, I don't know, Loritz, what are we at now? It's year 6 or something. And even we're still at our quarterly management meetings talking about should we reduce investment, increase investment? What's the tangibles? Do we win any projects? And I'm always saying, well, have you asked any of the people that ring us looking for help? Why have they rang us? Where have they seen us? Why now? We had a
attribution.
Yeah, we had one recently, which I thought was interesting. An old colleague from 10, 12 years ago rang us looking for assistance on a project. Now, we haven't spoken to that colleague in 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
So how did that colleague know to
So
give
he
us
was
a call?
He was in your audience. He was in the audience.
Yeah.
You know, we're looking out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
dark.
yeah.
He was in the audience. He was sitting down the back.
Yeah, yeah.
He's probably on his phone.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and then one day something came up in his LinkedIn feed or something came up on his YouTube or something like that. And he was like, oh, those guys, I think they can solve a problem that I have.
Exactly.
So it's about having an audience that is listening to you, and it's about getting them to listen more intently.
I think it's leading us nicely into this. But before we do that, and let's see if we can mention this. You can cut this out or not later. But you love horses and horse riding. And
yes.
How did I know when we last spoke? You almost go every day, which is
I literally
beautiful.
rode my horse this morning in the sunshine, and I got a massive horsefly bite, and my hand is all swollen, and he got loads of bites, and it was hard. It was very, very hard work in the heat, but we did it. We had a lovely little workout together, and then his name is Bruce, and I'm mad about him, and I threw him out. Gave him his breakfast, hosed him off, threw him out to the field, and then legged it back to the house to have a shower to come in
here. Yeah.
And you know what? How lucky am I?
But it sounds wonderful, and it's just a connection to nature and the animals and all, and having that in your life and in the morning with such a busy schedule and stuff, dealing with this archaic industry we have. Maybe it's a nice way to start.
Do you know what? There's so many analogies with horse riding. There's so many analogies. Like we talked earlier about Lawrence, who's your marketing manager, and how you give him a huge amount of latitude and a lot of rein, and that's how he gets over the jumps because you're encouraging him and you're trusting him.
You're not a horse, Lawrence. It's okay. That's not what we're saying. Yeah.
But there is a lot of analogies, you know, managing people. There's a trust piece there, and you have to allow them to fail. And I have been officially diagnosed as a micromanager and a control freak. I think that's the technical term for it, the medical term for it. I'm a control freak, and, you know, I am working on, when I'm on Bruce, I'm working on not micromanaging everything he's doing, letting him do it himself, letting him fail. Right? If I ask him to do something and he does it for a couple of seconds and then stops doing it, I have to go, stay neutral, and then let him understand, okay, I was responsible for not continuing to do that. And sometimes he could go back into doing it again, right? And it's the same with people. It's the same with people, and I'm working on it. So my horse is helping me with that.
Exactly, Bruce is helping. Excellent.
Yeah.
But let's get back into this AEC industry then. And in the past, we've talked about, you know, contractors, the opportunity that now sits in front of them, the amount of tenders and projects that are available to them, and perhaps then why some firms are struggling to win work more than others. But like, why would we say that the technical expertise is not enough to generate work anymore, that it has to be much more than just a technical expertise? There's a messaging, there's a branding, there's everything associated with that, perhaps.
The technical expertise is very important, and if you have that, and if you've a very good, unique approach and methodology and org chart full of like highly experienced, knowledgeable people, and if you have a good track record of projects that you've completed, that's all brilliant. That's a marketer's dream. We love that. We will come along and create stories about that. Okay. The challenge for a lot of engineers, project managers, I mean, because at the end of the day, I've sat at these tables, you know, with the very senior leaders in our industry. They're all engineers, project managers and QSs. That's how they started off. Some of them started off as plumbers and electricians. Okay. They're not marketers. They're not necessarily creatives, right? So, you know, that is how our industry has grown up. And the people that are sitting at those tables, most of the time, they're fabulous people, and they say, Tiff, I don't know about this stuff, but you do. So can you just do it, please? You just tell us what to do and we'll do it. So the challenge that they have is that they love to talk about, you know, we talk in sales, we talk about selling features and benefits. People don't buy features and benefits. People buy more intangible, emotional stuff like trust and reliability and user-friendly. What are the outcomes? What are the outcomes that the client is looking for?
How it makes them feel, right? How it makes them feel, that
Emotion.
Conversation, emotion. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
emotion. And I often say this when I'm in board meetings with, you know, with these senior leaders. I go, lads, I know you don't like to talk about emotion. but we're going to have to. And they go, oh, they get all shifty in their seat. And they're like,
yeah.
But honestly, the technical expertise is an input. What is the output? So the classic one that people always talk about is we delivered it on time and in budget, right? But is it more than that? Is it more than delivering on time and in budget? Did we deliver a space where people can thrive? Did we deliver a space where people can bring their best selves to work? Did we deliver a space that captures embodied carbon? Did we deliver a space that is a high performing building that will, over the next 30 years, save carbon? How are we measuring that? What's the story we're telling around that? And those are the kind of things, those are the outputs that the people who are writing the 20 million euro check actually want.
You can relate to it.
Yeah, they don't want to know how you did the plasterboard or the dry lining.
And the thing about, we talk about this a lot, and coming back to that technical expertise inside in our group, when we're sitting at these meetings, we go talk about, do we need marketing? As I said, do we need sales? Can't we just do it ourselves? And we go, we can give it a go, but our entire ethos of our business is do what we're good at.
Outsource
everything else.
One of my favourite things to talk about is session planning or succession planning, or the lack thereof in our industry. Because usually, if you look at the huge ones, the Jones Engineerings, they have been founder-led for so long. And it is the founders who are out there, wearing out the aforementioned shoe leather and burning the aforementioned diesel and drinking the pints and playing the golf. That is how these businesses have grown, right? They get to a certain point, private equity investor, the founders stay for a while, but that's the pattern, right? The fundamental challenge that a lot of these people have is that they don't have a succession plan. They don't have another tranche. These people are now in their 50s and 60s and 70s. They don't have another tranche of people coming up behind them who are chomping at the bit to continue this BD piece, this sales piece. A lot of the people that are running these businesses are natural salespeople. They're naturally good at building relationships. They want to help, and that comes across in everything they do. But unfortunately, a lot of the people they're trying to sell to now are in America. Data centers, mission critical. A lot of those people are in America. They're in AWS, they're in Microsoft, they're in Google. A lot of the people that they need to sell to are in Frankfurt, are in Portugal. So we can't do that by playing golf and drinking pints. We have to do it on the internet.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about the succession planning. The succession planning, first of all, they need to put some kind of a strategy in place to identify who the individuals are who are going to come up next, and then to imbue them with what they need, to give them the KPIs and the OKRs and the tools to actually deliver the next phase of business growth.
I think most original business owners and innovators have a knack for sales and people orientated, and you often do see it in that transition period that you talk about, where you go through growing the business and then acquisition, and the original founder leaves, and the culture gets hit a bit, it drops. You see people kind of less interested perhaps, and going, what has happened, and people begin to leave the business.
They start to feel like a number.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, culture, while it might seem a bit woo and intangible, culture is something that is going to happen with or without your input.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's going to happen over here, and the senior leaders are going to be over here winning work and delivering the jobs. And then one day they're going to wake up and there's going to be like, oh my God, the attrition rate has gone up. We're looking at the HR will come, and there'll be a list of people and be like, why did we lose these guys? These were good guys. Why did we lose them? They went up the road for $5,000 more or whatever.
And most people don't leave for the money.
No,
at the end of the day,
they don't. That's what I mean. It's like, so I think culture is something that it doesn't a good culture, a strong culture, a culture that retains people and nurtures them and creates the thriving people who will bring their best selves to work, that does not happen by accident. It happens by design. And I saw it in Mac, right? We were at 20 people, I think, when I joined in 2013. We were at 200 people, like in the heyday, 2019. So that's 10x. That's 10x growth in a 6-year period, right? So, and obviously it was founder led, and our CEO was the founder. So, his DNA was always percolating through the business all the time, but it was becoming more and more diluted.
It's natural when the business gets so big,
So by design, because I was the kind of custodian of the employer brand as well as the customer brand. So I would work very closely with the senior leaders and with HR to identify what are our values as an organisation? What's our unique thing that we want to be known for? What's our personality as a brand? And write it all down and make sure that everybody on the leadership team is aligned with that. Because that's another problem. Because the people on the leadership team will be slightly they'll have their own cognitive bias, and they'll be sitting around the table and everybody will be in their own little kind of siloed way of thinking. Aligning those people on what the values and what the culture is it's a really important first step.
Absolutely.
Then you can strategically create content around your culture that conveys that lovely stuff to them all. And over a period of time, the audience, which is your internal staff, the audience starts to listen and they believe. And that belief is what keeps them in the business.
Yeah. What was your question, Laurie? It's what does Cosmos sell?
We are actually digital quantity surveyors, cost consultancy based in Denmark, now with operations in Ireland and the UK and basically globally, because our clients are global.
So you're saying we offer clarity, we offer confidence. We offer clients confidence in their budget and we offer clients confidence in their cost and carbon ambitions.
It doesn't sound believable. You need to, I think you are thinking about it too much.
I am absolutely trying to think of the words. And again, as you say, like that, the culture will happen regardless of what you do. But isn't it way more powerful to create the culture that you want?
Yeah.
And get the people on board and give them, there's a couple of things you said that really resonated with me. Was one of talking about the buildings that you have delivered, and we delivered on time, on budget and cost, for starters. What really interests me is what was the environment like while delivering it?
Was it toxic?
Exactly.
Was it argumentative? Was there conflict?
Yeah. Or was it a really fun place? And in that, when we talk about our industry, we generally go to the bad place first.
Yes.
Toxic environment, bullying, all of that kind of stuff. And I think the big opportunity
it's
here
changing.
It is. Oh no, absolutely, it's changing. Yeah. Everybody is working towards that.
Yes, exactly.
But are we talking about it enough? About the project delivery, not about the great thing we delivered, but how did we deliver it and what 100%. Was that like, and the integration we had with different companies and organizations and the client, and are we capturing enough audio and video during the project to be able to support that narrative then, and so on and so forth? I think that's a major opportunity. But then you go to the internal culture, and I think teams can identify lip service very quickly, actually.
Slogans.
Yeah, and so not living up to your word, not delivering what you said you do, not listening to them and going, actually, we've taken that on board and now we're going to do this, this and this. By not doing any of that stuff, lip service becomes something you give, and the team are going, yeah, but you've said this before and nothing has happened. So aligning the management team around that purpose and culture is key to getting them to understand that when you say something, you do it because it's part of the culture you're trying to create. And then that feeds down through the entire environment within the organization. And I think that then reinforces people's connection with it. And again, we're coming back to here, that is a technical expertise because you need advice on it. But it's not a technical expertise in relation to the standard technical expertise you have in these businesses, like our own quantity surveyors, just a bunch of cost managers, quantity surveyors. But can we do that on our own? My answer is no, we can't. we can give it a good try, but we'll probably get a 40% out of 100. It's better to have the experts in advising you on it, whether that's externally, like yourself coming in and helping, or internally, like Larit's helping us here now.
Look, I was in a meeting the other day with an architectural practice, and they wanted to talk about marketing support for them, and like they kept coming back to cost, kept coming back to how much it was going to cost, and I said, look, if you can go and hire yourself, a graduate a graphic designer, and that graduate graphic designer will sit in the corner and look at you and be like, what do you want me to do now? And they'll be like, do you have any photos? And you'll be sitting there going, I'm trying to deliver a bloody job here. I don't have time to get photos, or what text will I put into this part of the document?
Yeah.
So,
and you could be extremely lucky to get the graduate graphic designer who's a self-starter and will move on and drive.
And strategic.
And strategic. They might not have the knowledge and experience to deliver what you really need, but you could be lucky and they could be someone that can deliver for you. But
hard to get that though.
I
human, that's a unicorn, isn't it?
And when I hear people coming back and going, we want to do this, and then someone mentions price, and then we go, no, that's too expensive. Well, that's not what you want to do then, because
but that's
if you
when you're letting the bean counters run the show.
Yeah, but I think people go to it. Us as a culture, I think we go to it anyway.
Yeah. Straight
away, we go straight to the pocket, going, "Oh my God, the price of it!" And you're going, only. I listened to a couple of podcasters, Alex Amosi, if anybody listens to him, and he goes, most people think from their own pocket, as in what would it be cost to me, what would it be value to me, not from the business perspective. And so when people say, oh, that's too expensive, they're thinking about themselves in reality, not necessarily the business. And people that have a lot of wealth only think about value, not about the cost.
If I'm in a meeting and the conversation ends up being all about cost, I know I've done a bad job of communicating my value. It's that thing which I have posted on my computer. Don't blame. Look in the mirror. Engineer the solution. Right. So if they keep talking about cost, they're maybe not the right fit. And when you do content marketing, you will bring inbound leads. The vast majority of the leads you bring will be a good fit for you because they've been following your content, right? But you'll get the odd one that isn't. You'll get the odd one where it's like, I'd really love that. But they don't necessarily want to put the budget towards it. And that happens, right? But if the whole conversation tends to keep coming back to cost, I go, right, this is me. This is a me problem. I have not conveyed my value properly.
It's a nice segue into the kind of what are the biggest marketing mistakes in the AEC, and a lot of it is misalignment between what is of value to you as an organisation and the budget you've allocated towards it. I think it's important to understand that. And I'd also say that if you begin to look at what the cost associated with that is versus your entire business turnover, you kind of go, why are we even having this conversation? Like, it's so minute in reality. Let's kick on and see how we get on.
I know, take risks.
Yeah.
Well, I had a client recently, and they're a large contractor, and they have hundreds of employees. And every quarter they get all the employees together, not the kind of the senior, the managers. They get them all together and they do a business update, and they do a PowerPoint presentation, and all the managers have to sit there and listen to a PowerPoint presentation for probably 8 hours or something, and the amount of time that the managers have to spend away from their projects, and obviously the opportunity cost of them being out of the business for 48 hours, whatever it is. It is good for them to get together, don't get me wrong.
Piece,
But the whole point of these meetings is to convey, how is the business doing? Where are we? It's a kind of a snapshot in time of where we are, so that everybody is aligned and everybody feels the same. And they came to me and they asked me, could I make a video that would do the same job? And I was like, yes, I would love to do that. That is such a cool idea. And we made it was like an hour-long documentary, It was fabulous, and we got different people from different parts of the business to speak about what they were doing and where they were with their various projects, which I do believe a lot of the managers may not have been aware of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So instead of all bailing into a hotel and paying for it and being away from their projects and all those kind of things, they watched a 1-hour documentary about their business that showcased it in time. And it was informative. It was high quality, beautifully shot.
It has to be excellent.
Beautifully executed. It was like a Netflix documentary. And I was kind of thinking, this was a very creative idea by them to do this. They took the risk. I know that a lot of people sitting in front of the camera, were nervous, but they were unbelievably good. They were unbelievably good because they were talking about what they know, a bit like you and me. Like, when we have a chat like this, we don't necessarily have to even prep too much for this because we're talking about what we know. We live this, we breathe this, we sleep this
every day,
all day, every day. So I thought it was that's like an ad for making a one-off video.
Exactly, yeah. But we can cut that. We can cut that later, But it is an important point to it because while the function of getting everybody in the room is important so people can meet, are people getting enough time together when you're spending the whole day presenting slides?
Exactly.
And you're kind of going, well, where's the value here? What are we really trying to do? Or we want to be able to communicate all of this messaging to our people.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe there's other platforms and ways of doing that. And actually getting the team together for that one day needs to be refocused about them bonding more and focusing on
having
them
more
rather than the
time
business.
To spend with each other.
Or even forcing interaction through little
team
games
building
and
exercises.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's but it is a very interesting approach to it.
It'd be hard to hit both of those objectives in one event, So it worked very well, and I was really, obviously Eli, who does all our video, I was very proud of him. I was very impressed with him the way he produced it. It was a quality piece, But the client were brilliant as well.
And do you think will they continue? Will they do it next quarter, next half year, whatever the solution is? Do you think?
I hope they will.
Yeah.
That's up to me then. I have to sell that.
Yeah, well, actually, maybe the ambassadors for that are the people that have watched the 1-hour documentary and go, well, we would really prefer this form in the future.
Look, they're already talking about, can we chop it up for social media? Can we have snackables that we can share out on our LinkedIn? And HR have jumped all over it. And HR now want to do stuff with it. Can we get cut downs for in our internal communication piece? But that's the thing. It's the gift that keeps on giving. If you invest in something like that, then you have a bank of good, decent, high quality content that positions you as strategic and thinking and, highly qualified and educated and expert, and experienced. Those are the words that we need to be talking about.
Yeah. And it also kind of alters the company's environment, if you like, and that cultural piece now. So the employees and the people in the business see the business itself kicking on and going, wow, video content, this is kind of new. Wow, okay.
Yes.
We're becoming a bit more innovative here. It's not we're all going to the same hotel again this quarter to have the same lunch to watch the same thing. I'm bored here.
It's creativity, it's innovation, it's digitization, it's all the things that the construction industry wants to aim towards.
And I think you mentioned something earlier on about when you're in the room and you are doing your sales piece and cost becomes the key denominator, that you believe you haven't sold the value well enough. The same principle must apply then really to contractors, subcontractors, suppliers, consultants when they are tendering for big projects, right? That it's very difficult to sell yourself on paper in documents that are maybe 60, 70 pages long, when also around price, when your meet criteria, your most economically advantageous tender puts price at 50, 60%, How do we get around that in this industry?
Yeah. So there's two things going on there, right? The first one is that when the shortlist has happened and you have three documents sitting on the desk, 3 different logos, right? You're the tender assessor. And you're looking at the 3. What does each of those logos say to you? What is the cognitive and emotional association that you have when you see that logo. What does it mean? Does it mean quality? Does it mean trust? Does it mean reliability? Does it mean sound lads? You know, what does it mean? Does it mean user friendly? Does it mean innovation? Does it mean sustainability? What is the one thing or the two things that logo is speaking as it sits there on the tender document? The only way to achieve that is by doing content marketing over a period of time consistently.
So building the emotional relationship with the brand before that document ever sits in front of you.
It's back to the audience. Yeah. The audience that are sitting out there listening to you. I have to grow that audience first. It has to be an audience for whom my message is relevant. It has to be an audience who has problems that I know I can solve. It has to be an audience for whose headaches I have Nurofen.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's the first thing you have to do. You've got to grow that audience. Grow it and grow it and grow it.
That's a long-term objective.
Consistent.
Now, right?
Every day, every week, showing up consistently with a message, with a message that you have spent time to develop. You take your people, you take your unique approach and methodology, you take your track record, you take your history and your tradition and your core values, and you weave a narrative around that stuff, and you make that narrative unique to you. Nobody can copy that. That's your DNA.
But Tiffany, if we talk about all this stuff, then other companies will only copy us and take all our prized possessions away from us.
They'll steal our people.
They'll
steal our people. Well, that comes back to what we said earlier, is that if we've a lovely, strong culture, the people will feel part of this amazing narrative we've created, and they will stay because it is important to them, and they have a sense of purpose in the organisation, and they know that they are fundamental and key to growing this purpose-driven organisation. That the narrative is only reflecting the reality of the purpose-driven organisation. Now, having said that, you know, back to slogans. I mean, if it's not true, but it has to be real.
Yeah,
it has to be authentic. It has to be real, right?
And
but
maybe,
that's the
and maybe
first
that's
piece.
what people are afraid about a little bit.
That they haven't got it, but they do have it. Most of them.
Yeah.
The Irish construction industry. I mean, this is why we're building the data centres all over the world, because we are bloody good at this, and we are sound. Yeah. You know, we're sound, and we're hardworking. And we get stuck in and we roll up our sleeves at the front line and we get shit done, you know. But so that's the first piece. The first piece is, you know, that logo needs to mean something. And that logo, if you don't invest in the meaning of it, in your brand, then when your logo appears on the desk, it won't mean anything. It won't speak to the assessor, right? It won't emotionally reach them. Okay, that's the first piece. The second piece is, the tender document is an opportunity for you to put a very strategic piece of marketing in front of somebody who has a job to give you. It is a magical moment. It is, you have achieved alchemy. Okay? So you have somebody who's assessing your tender. Sorry, Lars. You have somebody who's assessing your tender, right? And this person has a job. Right? So what you have done is you have succeeded in getting a piece of marketing directly into the inbox of somebody who actually has a job. Magic. Right? So you better bloody well make sure that that tender is telling the authentic narrative of your unique DNA as an organisation. And you better make sure that you haven't just thrown the kitchen sink at it with boilerplate text and copy and paste out of other tenders. And you better make sure that you have answered the questions that tender assessor has asked you properly and relevantly, and not just being like, oh, I wrote about community engagement before. I'll throw that in. Community liaison, or
patchwork quilt.
I have a piece on innovation. I'll just grab that piece on innovation and I'll just copy and paste it and dump it in. You know, maybe we'll have a picture of our BIM manager. You know,
and you can see that happening, and
that is happening today.
The documents, and often it comes down to: do people have enough time to do it, or are we allowing people enough time to put that effort into it? And maybe that becomes the criteria associated with how we tender, is actually, our response needs to be unique because the questions and requirements are unique to the organisation we're tendering for and the project we're tendering towards.
My old boss, who I won't name, but he knows exactly who he is, once said to me, construction is a commodity. Okay? You win on price and relationships. I think he might have said that. I'm paraphrasing here, don't come for me. But that was like somebody threw down a gauntlet, you know? And me and Bruce had to run it through with it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I don't think it's true that it's a commodity. I don't believe in the commoditization of construction. I think that all of these professional services firms, contractors, subcontractors, property investors, all have a unique story to tell. They are all the right fit for certain projects.
Yeah.
You know, like I have contractors who work in resi and professional services firms who work in resi, and what they have done is they have developed a way of building resi, LRDs, that they'll make money from, right? Subcontractors, contractors, professional services firms. I have others who wouldn't touch it with a barge pole because they say they can't make money at it.
Yeah. It's unique to them, unique to their process, unique to their delivery.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's an interesting way to look at it, because as construction shifts and projects are getting bigger, more complex, I do think that the price actually is irrelevant. If we really want something, price is irrelevant. Okay, we can talk about affordability and all that, that's fine. But when it comes to this type of industry, because projects are so long and engagements and stakeholders are so many and the number of unique individuals it takes to deliver, price is irrelevant. Culture is key. Personality fits becomes your focus point here, surely. And so in that opportunity of having that document in front of this individual for that short period of time for them to make a decision, it has to be more than the technical blurb you would normally come out with it. So while your QS and engineer and architect are writing the technical piece, you need a comms person, someone with very strong skills in communication, to write it so it connects
so
with
it's a
the
narrative
reader.
that flows all the way through the document.
Exactly.
That it's not just a disjointed. You know, it needs to be cohesive.
And that, again, coming back, that takes time, it takes effort, but it also takes intent.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do now in future. And then you can easily measure that, right? You can measure your win rate, your hit rate, whatever
And that's
metric.
back to the alignment of the senior team. Because that intent must be agreed around that table. And they must all have the same perception of what that intent is.
And why are we doing this and why should we do it together? And then we kind of look at then kind of marketing and recruitment, because we all hear it in the industry today. It's a challenge to get people. We're not creating enough and educating enough people to come into the industry to deliver all these monster projects. And suddenly we're all fighting now for the same pool of talent. And you're kind of looking then, using that same principle that your brand is key now to you recruiting, I would say actually retaining and then recruiting as your industry or as your business or your sector or whatever matures and grows, you know.
Yeah. Like, it's back to that. I mean, the retaining is back to your culture piece, isn't it? Yeah. It's about alignment on what do we stand for? What's our DNA as a business? You know, are we sound? Do we care? And if so, what is the physical manifestation of us being sound and caring? So how do we look after our people, right? Has that been written down in a policy, and is it being executed and implemented on a daily?
Again, is it lip service or actually are we standing
slogans.
by it?
Lip service or slogans.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one of the reasons why there is a distrust of marketing in the construction industry, because a lot of people have been swizzed by slogans.
Yeah, it's disconnected from reality. So it becomes something that's out here in the ether and on the posters and walking around the office and you see it written on the wall and you go, this isn't connected with this business at all. Actually, we're not doing any of it. Well, I don't feel that we're doing that as an individual, as an employee or as a contributor.
Particularly in our industry, because the projects could be in another county, but they could be in another country.
That's probably, yeah.
You know, these people are beyond busy and they are dispersed. So it's very important for you to keep that thread, that cohesive thread of the culture and the DNA, to nurture it, to keep it thriving, and to make sure that you're communicating it all the time. People say to me, how do you communicate it? And I'm like, well, it's actually, this stuff is not rocket science. It's one-to-ones. It's town halls. It's Thursday night pints. It's team building, taking everybody off down to one of these team building places for a night.
Your video content you just talked about.
The video.
Your internal weekly news update, whatever. It's multifaceted and it's continuous.
Yeah, the address from the CEO or the COO that you filmed and you've sent out to everybody, because this is how they, you know, I was lucky enough when I worked in Mac that I was all day, every day, having cups of tea and talking to the senior teams, all the directors. You know, that's how by osmosis I learned everything that I've learned about the industry. But not everybody is that lucky.
No, exactly.
You know, you could be out in Copenhagen building a data center. You know, and your head office, your HQ is back at Dublin. How do you create a thriving culture under those circumstances? The other big challenge is that you know, when PE comes in and you've been bought, a chunk of you has been bought, and then suddenly you're merging. You know, bits and pieces are being acquired left, right and centre in different parts of Europe, because that seems to be the goal of a lot of Irish AEC companies, whether they're professional services or contracting, is to be acquired or to merge with a much bigger company, a much bigger global.
It's definitely in vogue at the moment.
Yeah, that's what they're all going after, right? And so suddenly, where's your culture? You're merging cultures of several different organisations. That won't happen. That culture will happen, as I said earlier, by accident. If you don't take control of it, it will happen. And suddenly you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be like, how did this happen? How did my culture become negative or toxic or whatever it is?
Those acquisitions are extremely disruptive and difficult if not managed correctly.
Yeah.
We've been involved in a few with previous companies we worked for and stuff, and it's generally not the purchaser, it's the company being purchased that struggle the most, because you're being purchased for a reason.
Yeah, their identity is subsumed. They feel as though their identity and their sense of purpose has been subsumed under this much bigger
It's a difficult transition, but so what can AEC companies do tomorrow and perhaps in the future to improve? Where are the steps if people are listening going, fuck it, I need to do something about this, you know? And do I hire a marketing team? Do I hire 5 and 6 people and then go, here's the ball, run? Or do I go get consultancy? Well, we obviously know the answer. You just ring Tiffany, obviously. But anyway,
that's the answer.
We'll get to that in a few minutes. But yeah.
Okay, so if you whether or not you have a marketing resource in-house, okay, I still think it's very important to do the alignment, the leadership team alignment. Whether or not you have grown, you know, like whether you've had those numbers grow, or whether you're want to diversify into new sectors, or whatever your goals are, whether you want to differentiate yourself from your competitor out down the road, whatever your goal is, I think it's important to sit down first of all as a team. I do a lot of this. I sit down with the team and I ask them, well, what sectors are you targeting? They all have different answers. They don't actually even have alignment on the sectors they're going after. And I feel like, well, if we sit down and we agree what the sectors we're going after, then we can strategically identify the target audiences within those sectors, whether it's data centres, whether it's healthcare, whether it's LRDs, you know, whether it's hospitality, whether it's commercial retrofit, you know. But the point being, identify your sectors and then talk to somebody like myself who can help you develop a story that is relevant to the people who have problems in those sectors, you know. So to answer your question, I'm very long-winded.
No, it's perfect.
Forgive me.
It's not. It's great.
To answer your question, do a workshop.
Yeah.
It's a who and why workshop, I call it.
Yeah.
It's a who and why strategic workshop. Who are we talking to? And why are we talking to them?
Yeah.
What are the problems that they have that we solve?
And it's a very easy first step, non-expensive way to reevaluate yourself.
Not expensive.
And actually realise that, oh shit, we don't know what sectors we're going. We've been working with this communication piece consistently and continuously, and causes us to go, how do we get the message across? And we're always hearing back from the management team, oh no, we've said it. Going, no, you need to communicate it 7 times before first of all it's heard, and then you need to continue communicating.
Don't be afraid of repeating yourself.
No, that it's embedded.
Yeah.
And I was reading a book recently called The Motive. It's a very nice, it's a short book. It's a very nice book. But what was reinforcing in that one was that CEOs, owners, and leadership need to become comfortable with the fact that they become broken records. You keep saying the same message over and over and over again until people come back to you and say, we've already heard this, and that is when you win. That is when you know you've won, and then you move on to your new messaging and your next message and so on, you know.
I say this to people all the time. When you are sick of hearing it, it is only then that your audience is starting to pick up on it.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to be nauseated.
Yeah, and it takes such a long period of time for this transition to happen that before you start, you should also understand that it takes an awful long time for this to happen. You need to invest patience, time, etc. for it to happen.
And you have to do the exploration. You know, you wouldn't go to build a building without having, you know, the charrette, as they call it in Lead. You know, you wouldn't go to build a building without having the workshop where you identify what are we building, who are we building it for, you know, what are the challenges, what's the objectives, you know, what are the goals we want to hit with this building, what are the metrics, what are the performance metrics, you know. You wouldn't sit down to design a building without having that. So why would you start to do marketing without having that?
I think that's where we're stepping into, right? We're beginning to ask this, and social media is now challenging us as owners and as companies to reevaluate how we approach this messaging and value creation for ourselves. I think the internal piece is as important, if not more important, than the external. Personally, I think if you keep focusing on your people, you'll see greater returns.
Who are your greatest brand evangelists?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Who's wearing their logo, your logo on their back when they're out on the sites?
Yeah, exactly.
Those people need to be as aligned with your message as the people around the board table. Because they are the ones at the front line, meeting your clients all day, every day. They are your brand evangelists. They are your ambassadors. So you must focus on them first. Excellent. They're all salespeople for you.
I think we've just answered the main question here, really, isn't it? Tiffany, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for listening. There's a LinkedIn link below in the show notes. We would love to connect with you.
We hope you enjoyed it and have you with us in the next one. Thank you very much.